Welcome back to the Bold Podcast. I'm Todd Birch, your guide on this exciting journey of personal growth and leadership, where my guests and I will share personal stories from our transformational journeys of how small changes can lead to massive results. You'll discover tips on overcoming obstacles, setting and achieving goals, building lasting habits, living a happy, healthy, and positive life, and so much more. If you're ready to cultivate a growth mindset and become the best version of yourself, then let's ignite your growth today. Joining us today is Travis Bornstein, a dedicated leader and advocate with over 28 years of experience as president of Teamsters Local number 24 in Akron, Ohio. Known for his integrity and fairness, Travis is also a John Maxwell certified speaker, teacher, and coach specializing in leadership development. As the founder of his nonprofit, Hope United, inspired by the loss of his son Tyler, Travis has become a powerful voice in the fight against the opioid epidemic. His advocacy has been pivotal, influencing policy changes like Ohio's first Good Samaritan 911 law and holding Big Pharma accountable. His work has been featured in Forbes and Bloomberg, and he's addressed members of Congress on addiction reform. Travis is a proud U.S. Marine Corps veteran and family man, married over 25 years with 2 daughters. Listeners, get ready for an inspiring conversation filled with resilience, leadership, and hope. Travis, welcome to the Bold Podcast, my friend.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it very much. It's an honor to be here, and you're doing great things, man.
Thank you.
It's awesome. I've been watching some of the things you have going on, and you're doing good, bud.
Thank you.
Proud of you, man.
I mean, it's all about these stories of resilience, personal growth, and leadership. So, when, LinkedIn, I saw that you liked a few posts, and I reached back. I'm like, Travis, I know that guy. And so just to share the story, how you and I met, I think it was probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
My company, Evolve Marketing, we were doing a redesign of a website for the Opiate Task Force for Summit County. And so we were collaborating with the ADM board. And I believe they brought you in to share your story. You were kind of the man known to speak to us about opioids and the epidemic. And man, it's so funny because I remember you walking in that door. I'm like, who's this guy? You have this commanding presence. You and I talked about it a little bit, and not in a bad way. It's just, you're a big guy. Yeah. You're bulky, and it's like,
So, I'm an intense dude naturally. And, sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know what? I mean, it's, for that conversation, I think it's good. Yeah. And so all that to say, man, you left a huge impression on me. And I think I shared this at breakfast when we had breakfast. I mean, I went home, I learned so much about the epidemic. I went home, emptied out our medicine cabinet, which had tons of opiates. I've had 10 kidney stones over the past 10 years, every year. And that's what they give me. Yep. I don't know if you've had one, if you've heard about it, but
painful.
There's only one. There's nothing you could do. It's how can you deal with the pain? Yeah. And from that day, I've never taken a single opioid. Yeah, I mean, I have a very addictive personality, so I knew that. And hearing that from you, and I have a 25-year-old son who is an athlete, and that story, and we'll get into it. So you had a huge, just that one conversation, you had a huge impact on me. So when I saw you, I'm like, oh man, I'd love to just reconnect. And so I'm grateful that, we were able to break some bread together and have a conversation and learn more about the journey, 10 years. So a lot has happened, and we're going to talk about that today.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you.
I guess, if you want to start off, tell us a little bit about Hope United and that journey and how you got started, you and your wife.
So, I think it's important to kind of start, with Tyler, kind of what happened. And, I was, so Shelly and I have been together our whole life. We started dating and I think I was in 8th grade, man.
Oh, high school, and, even further.
Yeah. So, and then, like you said, we've been married 35 years, you know what I mean? And Tyler was our first child, our only son. And so just to tell you a little bit about Tyler, he was an honor roll student, all league, all county golfer. He got a golf and academic scholarship at Walsh University. Tyler checked all the check marks that you're looking for kids. And, You know, he did a bodybuilding show in 2013. He was runner-up junior Mr. Ohio. So, you know, how does a kid like that get addicted to heroin? You know what I mean? I kind of always say, like, you know, listen, we played by the rules. My wife and I had good jobs. You know, we're middle-class family. Our family was in church, right? This ain't supposed to happen to us.
Right.
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 So ultimately, you know, what happened with Tyler is he had broke his right arm 4 times and he had 2 surgeries on his right elbow. The first surgery was at age 11. Second surgery was at age 18. And ultimately he became addicted to the opiate prescription pain pills. I didn't even know what an opiate was, right?
Yeah. I don't think any of us
and,
did really.
You know, so the doctor's giving it to you. You're thinking, hey, man, they know what's best. And, you know, to give an opiate to an 11-year-old, you know, now to me sounds crazy. At the time, I didn't know. It wasn't immediate effects, but at 18, a little different time now, right? And so he got addicted to the pain pills, which led to heroin. 4 out of 5 heroin users first began with the use of opiate prescription pain pills.
That's crazy.
Most of the time given to them from a doctor, sports accident, car accident, work-related accident. And it was on, man. And before we really realized how far we were into it, we were deep into it. And so, you know, for the next 6 years of our life, it looked like relapse, recovery. We learned a lot of hard lessons, man. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand addiction as a disease. I was the typical parent that, you know, said, oh, like, what are you doing? We didn't raise you like this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which has nothing to do with nothing. I know that now. I didn't know that then.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I made a lot of mistakes. Now, the mistakes I didn't make is I never stopped loving my son and I never stopped trying to get him help. You know what I mean? So, you know, to kind of cut to the chase, ultimately what happened is Tyler was in the process of overdosing and the person he was with, instead of calling 911, dumped him in a field and left him there to die. The next day, the Summit County Sheriff shows up at our house and proceeds to tell my wife and 17-year-old daughter that a resident found a dead body in a vacant lot, and it's our 23-year-old son. So what do, you know, when all your hopes and dreams are left in a field to die? And that's how we got into the space, and that's our journey. And it's still, you know, hard to tell the story, man. It's 10 years, you know.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's still, you know, it's still emotional, still hard. And
that was fentanyl.
Yeah.
Too, right?
So, yeah. So
another epidemic.
Yeah, for sure. And so at the time, again, this was 2014. At the time, he was one of the first young men to die of a fentanyl overdose. Today, 70% of all overdoses are fentanyl related.
70%?
70%.
Oh, my gosh.
You know what I mean? So, you know, through that, ultimately, you know, our family formed a nonprofit in 2016 called Hope United. You know, it's basically 3 pillars: education, support, and recovery. You know, we try to get out, we share our story, we speak in schools, we speak with employers, speak at unions, speak at churches, community settings, and just try to share our story and talk about, you know, how did we get to the worst drug epidemic in the history of our country? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't understand it. You know what I mean? And so we have a tendency to go, those people. We have a tendency to say, oh, they weren't raised in a good home. We have a tendency to say, well, it's an inner city problem, which all those are false. Mm-hmm. All those are false. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of our educational piece. Our support piece is, you know, obviously we have tons of recovery type meetings. We have family support. We have grief support for families that's lost a loved one or a child due to the disease of addiction. And then our big projects, the recovery piece, which is we built the first RCO in Summit County. It's called Tyler's Redemption Place. And it's a 7,500 square foot log cabin right in Springfield Township, man. And it's been awesome, man. It's just been unbelievable.
The space is cool, and I want to come out and see it. And I would recommend anybody, if you just see the one photo and the story. I mean, the story of that building alone, right? That took. I mean, it was 7 years before you could even build. Yeah. You know, the funds, COVID, materials, and then you pivoted, going from a commercial building to this. Right. Crazy, beautiful log cabin. Yeah. Was that Amish built? Yeah. I knew it was inspired.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a crazy journey, you know what I mean? And very difficult. You know, there's you know, the grieving process is very unique. You know what I mean? I think everybody and all the listeners will agree. Like the worst thing can happen to you is lose a child, right? For any reason, reason. There's no good reason. You know what I mean? And the problem is with an overdose, the stigma that's associated with it. Like all of a sudden you're a bad parent. You didn't raise your kids right. You know, if you'd have just had your kids in church, you know what I mean? Those kind of things that we do as a society, which I did all that. And I'm not trying to say I'm a saint by no means, because I'm not. But I checked all those marks and trying to, overcome that because the stigma was tough, man. You know what I mean? It was tough. And I think that's kind of what drove me into the space too, is we just didn't understand it. We had a lot better understanding of addiction and substance use and alcoholism now. Still a lot of work to do, you know what I mean? And we'll talk through some of that stuff, but it's been a journey, man. It's been a journey. God's been good, man. God's been good. And, it's sometimes hard for me to say out loud,
Yeah.
Because, it's sucked along the way too.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean? Yeah.
And so faith played a big,
for sure.
I'm thinking, I'm putting myself in your shoes. Like I said, I have a 25-year-old son and a daughter, and I'm thinking, I don't know how I could rebound from that. Like, I mean, the testament of resilience, you and your whole family, your wife and your two daughters. How did you guys? Yeah. I know it was rough. Was it the faith that
I think so. I think, and listen, man, I know we're in a tricky situation in today's society. We don't do a good job of, working out our faith. And I think sometimes as Christians, we're just not great examples sometimes, man. Yeah. And we hurt the kingdom sometimes more than we help the kingdom. You know what I mean? Me first. I screw a lot of things up, man. So, but for sure for us is, my wife and I were equally yoked. We had been in church our whole lives. I was saved and baptized as a young man, and I never stopped believing, even in the midst of that. You know, it was hard. I mean, I think for the first time ever in my life, I really pushed back and said, God, like, this is how my story ends. I've tried to do the right thing. I've played by the rules. I've tried to serve you, and my kids get stumped in a field. This is how this ends. Right. You know what I mean? And I think in all of that, when we can slow down and we can take deep breath, God's ways aren't our ways. Right. And that's what we had to do. We had to just slow down. We had to take a deep breath. My oldest daughter was a sophomore in college at Walsh. My youngest daughter was a senior in high school. And Tyler was the third young man to die of a heroin overdose in Hartville. Right. Within a year.
A small little town.
Yeah. And so that kind of triggered the whole community, man. And so my daughter and the two other girls that lost their older brothers too, did a presentation at the high school kind of talking about what's going on, and they each shared their stories. And at the time, this is a couple months right after Tyler passed. Oh. And, at the time I'm silent on the issue, man. I'm still caught in shame. I'm still caught in failure. I'm still caught in embarrassment. And I'm watching my 17-year-old daughter share our story and have more guts and courage than her dad, man. And I was super proud of her, but I was ashamed of myself because my pride got in the way of us at that point sharing our story. You know what I mean? And so when Tyler was in active addiction, nobody knew. I could barely talk about it with my family. You know what I mean? None of my friends knew. Like, none of my friends had no idea what was going on. And they seen it on the news and in the paper, just like everybody else. Like, Trav, what happened, man? And that was all me caught up in the stigma, right? Me caught up in my own pride, And at that point, that's when I knew that, listen, man, there's a story here and I got to start sharing it and I got to get over myself because this story is happening all across our community. It's happening all across our country. And I need to be a voice, man. I need to be a voice. And I think that's kind of what drove me into it, man. You know what I mean? And so, through that, these girls were talking and at their school, and then that kind of took off. And my daughter spent her whole senior year traveling to high schools all across Stark County, Summit County, and Portage County. And so through that, we formed a Facebook page, started to talk about these girls. And then through that, that's what drove us to form the nonprofit. And so she was kind of the driving force behind all of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And was your wife on board from the beginning? Or?
Oh, yeah. So the great thing about this thing is that Shelly and I have been equally yoked. And the reason why I say it that way, it's not me pushing this. It's not her pushing this. We do it together, and we've done it together the whole time. The divorce rate goes like off the chart when you lose a child because you don't heal, you don't grieve at the same time. And then one person doesn't heal as fast as the other and all those kind of things. And it's so easy to get into the blame game and point fingers and all that. And I'm so thankful that my wife never did that to me. You know what I mean? So we didn't play the blame game, man. We just sat down and we talked about it, and we said, hey, God is God. We're not. We got to walk into this. I don't like it, but how can we try to bring improvement? How can we bring change? How can we get the conversation going? And so we just decided to do that, man. We're going to take the worst thing that could happen to us as parents and, see how we can promote change.
So that's where it was born. And it was not easy. So you had never started a nonprofit 501c3. And I know a lot of people that have gone through that process, and it's not easy.
It's not easy. Nothing's easy, man.
Nothing worthwhile is easy. You got to
sure.
you got to do the work.
Yeah. The good thing for me personally is, I had a lot of experience of running an executive board, of dealing with board members, getting board members, establishing bylaws. So I did have a little, probably more experience than most. I can tell you right now, some of the board members I have then, I don't have now. Right. People come and go, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes people are there for a season. Sometimes people aren't there to put the work in and get it done. Right. You know what I mean? So, it was difficult, man. It was difficult. Yeah. So to give you a little bit more. So the other thing that really drove this thing. So neither one of us were real comfortable going to the cemetery. Like it just, it just didn't feel good, man. I can tell you I've probably been there less than 10 times, man. Less than 10 times in 10 years. Honestly, probably 5 or 6 times. I find no peace there. All I find is my brokenness there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's just not comfortable. And my wife was kind of the same way. And she started going over to this field where they found Tyler. And she started going over there and she started walking on the property. And then she started taking a couple of her friends and mentors with her, and they would go over there and they started praying. And my wife just started feeling a desire for change and a desire to do something, and kind of teasing a little bit. But she'd come home and she's like, hey, man, we're going to buy this property, man. She's like, we're going to buy this property. I was like, all right, Shelly, just slow down. You know what I mean? And then she just like persistent doing it, man. And finally she comes home and she goes, listen, I'm not clowning. She's like, go get a loan and we're going to buy this property, man. And I'm like, she's like, God's told me, man. And I'm like, well, good. If God's told you, then he'll provide a way and I don't have to get a loan.
Right.
Right. And that'll lead us into the next part.
That's a great segue. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you're, like we said in the intro, president of Teamsters, local number 24 in Akron, Ohio, for 28
years.
I've been a long time.
I've been a full-time officer right now. I'm working in my 30th year.
Right. And how many terms?
So I'm 7. I've been elected 10 times. I'm on my 9th term as the president,
which is unprecedented.
Yeah,
for those that aren't familiar. I mean, I'm not trying to blow smoke or brag, but it's a big deal. I mean, it's a testament to, if we're talking about leadership.
Yeah,
somebody doesn't at a young age.
Yeah, I was 20. After high school, I went in the Marine Corps. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, and then I came back. I started working at Roadway Express as a dock worker. And I actively started getting involved with the union. I became the shop steward. I think I was 22 years old, a shop steward. And then I just kept, being actively involved. And then at 29, I ran for a full-time position, business agent position. I got elected. And then at 32, I ran for president, principal officer, and youngest president in history of the local. Yeah. And then I've got elected a couple more times afterwards.
Yeah. And going for one more.
Yeah, I need one more for sure. Yeah. So, within the Teamsters and within the local, as this was going on in my life, I also recognized it was going on in a member's life. I also seen, it was very common for our members to get hurt, right? On the job, working on the dock, working, in a warehouse and those kind of things. They get a shoulder injury, go to the doctor gives him opiate, right? Come back, it's 10 degrees out, snowing. I don't feel great today, but I take this pain pill. I'm going to feel a little better, and I got to provide for my family. I got to go to work.
Right.
And that's how innocently and easy addiction happens, man. Right. And so I started seeing it. In my own local, man. I'm like, man, this ain't just me, man. This is affecting our members too. So I wrote a letter to the general president. So every 5 years, the Teamsters has our national convention. This was in 2016. And so I wrote a letter to our general president, and I kind of shared our story. And I kind of said something like, as union leaders, we're community leaders. And there's nothing impacting our community than the opiate epidemic. And the general president called me back, and he didn't write, I wrote him a letter. He picked up the phone and called me, and he said, Travis, I hear your story, man. And I'm going to give you a chance to speak at our convention. He goes, I want you to share your story, man. So I did that.
And that's a big deal. I mean, let's set that up.
It's a huge deal.
We're talking how many thousand?
There's probably 5,000 people in the room. We got, so the Teamsters, we got 1,000,004 members all across the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico. There's probably 400 local unions all across the country like mine. You know what I mean? So we come together every 5 years to do the business of the union. You know what I mean? There's lots of, we set goals, we set strategies, you know what I mean? And we got business to get through. And that's the purpose of that convention. But, the great thing about the Teamsters Union is we're actively involved in our communities, man. And we try to make a difference.
Yeah.
We try to
I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
That was something new that I learned. So I appreciate learning that.
Yeah. The Teamsters, man, they're a very generous organization, man. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. We're active in our community. We care about our community, man. You know what I mean? Obviously this is where we live. This is, where we're raising our kids, man.
Right.
So, like I said, I wrote the letter. The general president called me back. And the reason why you said that's a pretty big deal. And I'll agree with that because I wrote letters before and never got phone calls back. Oh. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so this wasn't the first time.
Yeah, like, hey, I wrote a letter on this issue. And it's like, okay, that's not that.
But not on
something
topic.
like this. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was different.
Yeah, this was different. And so he calls me back and says, hey, man, I want you to speak at the convention. And, the thing about that too was, a lot of times they make you prepare a speech, give it to them in advance. They proofread it. They send it back, change this, change that. They didn't make me do none of that. He didn't say, you got 5 minutes. He didn't say you got 10 minutes. He said, you get up there and you share your story, man. Mm. You know what I mean? So at that point, it was like, man, I'm just going to share my story. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be, transparent. And I was going to lay it out there, man. And I did. It was 10, 15-minute speech. It was crazy. After I was done, kind of shared our story, kind of like I shared with you, and a little more details. And after I was done, man, Teamsters from all across the country started coming up to the mic and started making donations, pledges for donations to support our nonprofit. The first donation was $5,000. Second donation was $10,000. Third donation was $50,000. This went on for over an hour. And when it was done, we raised over $1 million, man, in like an hour.
That's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. The power of that community and the respect they have for you and your family.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the other thing that it did, and I think this was probably the most humbling part for me because honestly, I was pretty embarrassed, man. I struggled with failure, man. I struggled with man, I wasn't the father I should have been to my kid, man.
Right.
And that still beats me up a little bit, But what was so awesome about it is as these guys were coming up and making pledges and they're like, hey, Travis, man, this happened to my nephew. Hey, my brother's struggling too. My dad, we had a cat come to the mic and he goes, I've been in recovery for 25 years, but I've been afraid to tell anybody, man. You know what I mean? And the stigma in that room, it was just so awesome because it was.
You opened it up, man.
It was just awesome, man. I can't tell you.
You opened it up. Like there's a lot more to that story, right?
Yeah. And I think the thing about it was, did I give a passionate speech? Yeah. Okay, whatever. But the reason why it went the way it did is because what I was saying, a lot of those folks were experiencing the exact same thing. they were just in Minneapolis, or they were in Indiana, or they were in California, but the same thing was going on in their town. It was going on in our town.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The shame. And
Yeah.
not wanting
the
to,
stigma.
stigma and
you know what I mean?
Wanting
And
to share their story.
So it was so awesome, man. It was so humbling. I was so thankful that my wife and my oldest daughter was with me so they could see it and feel it. And they were in the room when I made the speech, and they felt it, man. And it was just a great experience for my kids to be able to see. You know what I mean?
And then we're going to link to it in the show notes. And I recommend everybody listen to it. I watched it last night. I had goosebumps.
Yeah.
It was one of the most powerful speeches I've listened to in a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised
Yeah.
that it had the impact that it did. So,
it's very humbling, man. The thing I would share there is like our stories matter.
right.
You know what I mean? Our life journey matters. I don't believe that God lets us go through things to torture us.
Right.
I believe God lets us go through things to mold us, to change us, to shape us.
Right. There's got to be a reason.
Right. And, that's my faith. And you know what I mean? And everybody's got their own. It's just, that's my faith. You know what I mean? And so
Travis, let's talk a little bit about this, you going up against Big Pharma. That's crazy. And, when I met you and we talked, I immediately went and rented the book or bought the book Dreamland.
Yeah.
And we'll link to that in the show notes too. And that opened my eyes. That book was incredibly sad.
Yeah.
A lot of it's really started here in our town, in 100%, Ohio.
100%.
And just crazy. I highly recommend if you're not familiar. And now there's docuseries on the epidemic on Netflix. And I don't know if you've watched some of those.
Yeah.
And,
I lived it, man.
Yeah. That book, but they're, so that was crazy. But tell us a little bit about just the journey of you going up against them, and you're meeting with members of Congress, you're getting things passed, and where we're at today.
Yeah.
Where there's been some money, there's been some lawsuits.
Yeah.
How do you feel about where things are at and where we're going?
Yeah. So, on the Big Pharma thing, as I kind of brought this to the attention, to the general membership at the Teamster convention, based on the response at that convention, it triggered our general president and our general executive board to go, wait a minute, we got a problem. And so through my story, the Teamsters Union put coalitions together to kind of go after Big Pharma. The distributors, like Cardinal Health, AmerisourceBergen, McKesson, those are the big three. And they're flooding our communities with opiates, man.
Right.
Because it's not about regulations. It's not about doing the right thing. It's about dollars, man.
Those pills.
It's about dollars, man.
Yeah.
And at one point in Summit County, there was about 62 opiates, enough for every man, woman, and child in our county to get 62 pills. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yes.
For every man, woman, and child. And that's just in Summit County.
Right.
West Virginia, man, was just on fire.
Yeah,
just was on fire.
Crazy.
And so what we did is the Teamsters Union, led by a lot more smarter people than me, put some coalitions together, and we kind of used our leverage, man, because we have money invested in these companies through our pension funds and through our health insurance funds and through some investments that we have. And so we put some coalitions together, and we started showing up at the board of trustees meetings, man. And it was powerful, man. We went, I personally went to 2 out of 3. I went to the McKesson in Florida, and I went to
and you guys are picketing.
Well, we went into the meeting because we had stocks, we had shares, we were shareholders, man.
Oh, you were in the meeting. Holy
We went
cow.
into the meetings,
I didn't realize
man.
that.
Yeah. So it was awesome because, listen, we have shares, man. We put coalitions together. And so we had rights to speak on the floor and to bring questions.
What was that like?
It was awesome, man.
Were they like, holy shit, what are these guys doing here?
It was intense, man. And again, there was a lot more smarter people than me. We had attorneys, we had very educated people in the space. And my job was to just share my story, man.
Yeah.
Because I got to put a real face on it.
Right.
But it was humbling in a way, but it felt good in a way too, to look the CEO in the face, man. This multimillionaire who's thinking about profits before people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to look him in the face and say, this is what's going on, man.
Right.
This is what's going on, And so it was a little bit therapeutic for me too. at the time, And so that was one part that we had in kind of holding Big Pharma accountable. Listen, some of those shareholder meetings, they stopped the CEO's bonuses. They stopped wage raises. They put reforms in place saying we got to start regulating how many this pharmacy in West Virginia gets. You know what I mean? So it had impact. It was powerful and it had good change. And that's not a credit to me. That's a credit to the Teamsters Union and a lot of smarter people at the International who had enough foresight to say, let's do something here, man.
Right.
Let's do something. Maybe I helped triggered it. And then my job was just to put a real face on it. And so in addition to that, what you've seen is you started seeing lawsuits from states and from counties coming after the pharmaceutical companies too, right? And so Summit County and Cuyahoga County got the first bellwether case of suing the pharmaceutical companies, the companies we're talking about. And there's a couple more in there too. And so I got to work directly with Summit County and Cuyahoga County and their lawyers and their staff to prepare a case to go to trial. And I was the only family witness that the judge said could testify. And of course, those attorneys on the other side were trying to keep me off the stand. They didn't want to put a face on it.
No,
didn't want to put a face on it, right? That humanizes it.
Right.
And so I worked with the county and ultimately it settled. I was up in a hotel room in Cleveland getting ready to testify. The hearing the next morning, they settled the case for $260 million. The county, you know what I mean? So that was the first case, you know what I mean? And, I got mixed opinions and all that stuff, listen, money's money and we're going to try to put that money and the county's going to try to put that money to good use. And, it doesn't change so much for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't bring my son back. It doesn't bring all the kids back. But, listen, man, I feel privileged in a lot of ways that God's given me a voice. Sometimes there's a lot of families, in the community that's hurting, that's suffering, and they don't have a voice.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't got a stage.
Right.
I take that very serious, be the right voice for people, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've kind of always done that. It's kind of who I am. You know what I mean? I've tried to always stand up for people. I think I learned that in the Marine Corps. I learned that as a leader. That was the pharmaceutical side of it. I think Summit County got about $10 million, something like that. They've created an opiate abatement fund and slowly is putting those funds out in the community to try to promote positive change.
Do you feel like we're at a place where we are making some impact?
So look, here's the trick bag. Here's the trick bag is there's so many moving parts in this epidemic, right? And I'm not a blame game guy. I'm more of a solution guy. Like, let's identify the problem and let's start working to try to solve it. And that's personally what I'm trying to do. And everything we're doing in our organization and the reason why we got into this RCO, there's a reason for it. There's a purpose for what I'm trying to do, is trying to solve the problem. So I want to be careful because I don't want to look like I'm just blaming this dude and blaming this dude and blaming that guy. There's lots of moving parts, man. And there's an education part that we have to understand this thing. You know what I mean? Like, are we better today than we were 10 years ago? Sure we are. Sure we are. Has the stigma associated with drug addiction and alcoholism better? I don't know, man. Can we do more? Absolutely. I always talk about like identify the gaps and let's start filling those gaps. And it's the whole reason why I got into, and our organization got into the RCO space, which is Recovery Community Organization. So, traditional treatment and go through 30, 60, 90 days of therapy. For most of us, it's 30 days or less. I'll give you my instant case. I got Teamster health insurance. I got Cadillac health insurance. I got the best insurance you can have. And in my program, it was 2-time lifetime, 21 days. So Tyler got 42 days of inpatient treatment. Okay. That was the best health insurance at the time. So what we have a tendency to do is you go through traditional treatment, 30, 60, 90 days. We tap you on the butt and we say, good luck. And then we wonder why people fail. Right? The relapse rates are like 70% in the first year. It's because recovery is a long-term game. It's not a short-term game. And we keep throwing short-term strategies at it. We got to develop long-term strategies, right? And it's the reason why I stepped into the space. Like our RCO, you can be there forever, man. It's not like 30 days and you're out, 60 days and you can't come back. No, man. We got dudes with 25, 30, 35 years in recovery, mentoring young folks with a couple months recovery, man. You know what I mean? Recovery is a long-term strategy. We came in this space. I knew nothing about drugs and alcohol, man. Now, I'm getting educated here, but I'm coming a long way, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we always talk about love and compassion, man. You walk in the doors at Tyler's place, man, someone's going to recognize you. Someone's going to shake your hand. Someone's going to meet. I don't care what you look like. I don't care if you got one shoe on, one shoe off. I don't care. Doesn't matter, right? We're going to try to help you. We're going to try to get you the resources you need. We're going to do everything we can to try to help you. And put a team around you so you can get to long-term recovery. The best way we can do that is with love and compassion, man. You know, my wife has all these little things that's so unique and different, you know, like you want a cup of coffee. Like we give you a real cup, man. We give you a real cup. We don't give you a plastic cup. We don't give you a styrofoam cup. We give you a real cup. And it's so funny because dudes will come in and like, hey, can I get a cup of coffee? Yeah. And they're looking for the styrofoam cup. I reach down in that counter, man, and pull out a real cup, and they pull out a cup and they're like, I get a real cup? Yeah, you get a real cup, bud. You know what I mean? And it's just like little things. Let's just treat people right.
Yeah, well, it goes back to the whole thing. I mean, it looks like a house. Yeah. You know, when I enter, it's warm, it's compassionate. And to me, it says, stick around, stay.
Yeah, you're
long
welcome.
term.
You're welcome.
You know? Yeah. Come on in and have a seat. Yeah. Versus go ahead and pick up the styrofoam and go ahead and head out. You know what I mean?
Listen, man.
So it's details.
Yeah, it matters, man. You know, look, we're not a perfect organization, so I don't want to act like we are. But I can tell you, we drive love and compassion in our place. Like, we sit down with our volunteers. I make sure that their heart's right, man.
So it's like an onboarding, like a training process.
Yeah. And it's just like words matter, man. You know what I mean? It's real simple. This is not hard stuff. How about we just treat the person like that's your son, or that's your daughter, or that's your wife, or that's your husband, right? If we just start there, we're going to be a whole lot better, man.
Yeah, that makes it a lot
We're going to be a whole lot better. You know what I mean? And so it's been awesome, man. I can't tell you how blessed I feel. And, you know, me and my wife went through this. You know, it took us 7 years to get the place built from the time we gained the time we got the donations from the Teamsters, you know, over $1 million. It took us 7 years to get this built. Lots of reasons for that. Like you said, we pivoted. We were in a commercial building. We pivoted to a residential building. COVID happened. The whole world fell apart, right? I'm trying to raise, even though I got $1 million, I'm trying to build a commercial building. I'm at like 6,000 square feet at $5 million. I can't get there, man. I can't get there. And my staff, my team's getting frustrated. You know, we're 7 years into this thing. We're telling the community we're going to do something. Everybody's finally just looking at us like, come on. You know what I mean? And we felt the pressure of that, man. But we wanted to do it, and we wanted to do it right, you know? And we did a ton of research and how we were going to land in the space that we landed in. And so finally I came back to my wife and our team, and I was like, listen, we got $1 million. I can build a hell of a nice house for $1 million. And she was like, yeah, I think we got to do something. And I go, listen, if we could build anything we want, what would you want to build? And we both like log cabin. And she was like, we don't have enough money. I go, we don't know if we don't try, man. So we started vetting log cabin builders, man.
And we're in the right town for that.
We are, right? Man. So, you know, hour down the road is Amish town, right?
And those guys.
And we hooked up with Marion Miller. He's the principal owner of Walnut Valley Log Homes. And we shared our story, and we told him we were trying to do. And he's like, man, I want to work with you guys. He goes, I want to work with you guys. And he goes, I built this house in Pennsylvania. He goes, you'd be willing to go over there and take a look at it? And I'm teasing a little bit. And I go, yeah, let's do it, man. So he got on his horse. We got in our truck and we went out there, you know. No, it's not true. So we went out there, man, and we walked into this log cabin, and it was just beautiful. And it was like Shelly and I were like, this is it, man. This is what we're going to do. You know what I mean? And so it was a residential home, and we tweaked it, changed some things, built out the basement totally different, hit the commercial code. And man, it's just awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. Yeah. So the other thing on that, we bought the property where they found Tyler, right? It was a couple acres on the corner of Alfred and Arlington. And that's where we thought we were going to do this project on. We realized that it wasn't enough property. So then I started approaching the county about land bank, and do you got any property? And we were real familiar. This is the old Edwin Shaw property. We were real familiar with that because Shelley and I both grew up in that area. And so I approached the county about making a donation, and they donated 10 acres to us. And so that's how we got the property. And it's been a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of work. What people, don't see behind the scenes is all the blood, sweat, and tears, that went into getting it done. Just not easy, man.
Right.
Nothing. It just was not easy. There's so many times my wife would wake up in the morning and she always, is in prayer time and devotion time. And most of the time, I'd come down and she'd just be crying, man. She's like, we can't do this, man. We can't do it. And I go, Shell, I don't have the answers, but we're just going to keep trying.
Right.
We're just going to keep trying. We're just going to keep showing up. We're going to keep showing up, man. And, my team was very frustrated at times. You know what I mean? 7
years is long.
It's a long time, bud.
It's a long time to hold on to that hope. But
so let me just share one more thing. 7 years in the Bible is a year of completion, right? So it's a number in the Bible, right? It means something. 7 years to the date of Tyler's death. We got our certified blueprints approved from the county 7 years to the date of Tyler's death, man. We got to do a better job of loving people and taking care of people and taking care of our neighbor, man. And that's just where we're at as an organization.
It's a simple concept.
It really is.
The golden rule.
It really is.
And I think you guys are paving the way for us with Hope United for sure.
Yeah.
What a crazy story.
Yeah.
Of resilience and hope. Hope's in the name, but that you guys stuck with it, stuck together, and made it happen.
Yeah,
made that dream come true. And now, I've seen some of the numbers from your impact report.
Yeah,
you're helping people.
It's crazy.
A lot of people.
It's crazy.
I mean, congratulations to you. I mean, I know you're hard on yourself and very humble man, but to you and your wife and your kids and your team, like you're making a big difference. And
it's
all
crazy.
it takes is one person, right?
Yeah. So the way I'll say that, and trying to encourage people is like, I listen, man. I'm not dumb enough to think that I can change the world, but I'm smart enough to know that I can change something, man. Mm-hmm. And let's just start in our neighborhood.
That's it.
Let's just start in our neighborhood. Like what if we can change our neighborhood? And then maybe we can change our city. Then maybe we can change our county. Then maybe we can change our state. Maybe we can change our country. You know what I mean? That's the ripple effect.
Right.
That's the ripple effect.
It takes momentum.
Ain't going to happen in my lifetime. You know what I mean? But that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. I get that first stone going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, 10 years, you can see where we're at. I mean, there's still a lot to be done, but there's a lot that's been.
Yeah. There's, like I said, there's so many moving parts in this space, and there's nothing easy about it, man. And, one of the things that, is near to me is veterans, man. You know what I mean? And I served in the Marine Corps, and I've had the opportunity to work with the Valor Court here in Summit County. And the Valor Court is veterans that's gotten some type of trouble. And most of the time it's with drugs and alcohol. And they got this program through the Veterans Court that, you get through the program, you complete it off, you can really save yourself a lot of jail time or a felony or lots of things, right? Give you a chance to put your life back together. And so I've had the opportunity to partner with the court. We help them with peer support. And I set up a veterans program, a VR program, which is a virtual reality program. We also have a veteran-only meeting. And then I do some mentorship with some veterans, man. It's so humbling, bud. It's so humbling because you're talking about dudes that have given the best part of their life to their country, right? And then they come back home and nothing makes sense to them, man. And they struggle with drugs and alcohol because they're masking their pain, because that's what trauma is, man. We just don't abuse drugs and alcohol because the party's on. Most of the time it's around trauma. We're masking our pain, whether that's physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain. We're masking our pain, right? And I get the opportunity to sit down with some of these guys, and it's been so humbling for me. I'll give you another one. How you do the little things is how you do everything. You know what I mean? And what the military does, and it's regardless of whether you're in the Marine Corps or any branch, you just constantly training, and you're just doing the same stuff over and over and over. You know why? Because you have to, because it's a response then. You just respond.
We're talking about habits.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. 100%, man.
So Malcolm Gladwell,
yes.
You have to do the reps.
Yes.
And I was just listening to a podcast the other day. They were talking about that exact thing.
Yes.
Where it's, who are you going to call when there's, a traumatic event?
Yeah.
You call 911, first responders.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to deal with it because they've been through it time and time.
Yeah.
Does it ever get easier? You look at, but you can respond instead of react.
Yes, 100%.
And then just building it into a habit.
So I always say you can't give something away you don't have. So if you're not full of energy and passion and enthusiasm, you can't give it away. You can't give it away. So the first person you better take care of is you, because nobody else is going to. You know why? Because nobody gives a shit.
Right.
They don't care, man.
Right.
So you better care. You better care. Right?
Right. We invest in everything else. The best investment we can make is in ourselves.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Man, Travis, this has been great, man. This has been I don't know. I was thinking about it this morning. It's just a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
I try to put myself in your shoes. I can't even imagine. This is truly two words: resilience and hope.
Yeah.
And inspiration, for people, second chances. You had a second chance.
Yeah, 100%.
You're a new man and changed this organization you've built, this movement. There's just so many things to be proud of. And I know you're hard on yourself, but man, what you've done is, it's an incredible story built off of a horrible tragedy. But what you're doing is making a difference.
Yeah, thank you.
It is. And I'm so grateful that you came back into my life. I know that we're going to continue to have conversations, hopefully get a workout in.
Yeah, love it.
At some point.
Yeah.
And come out to your place and shoot some stick, meet some people, maybe volunteer.
Yep. Yeah.
If there's one, you've dropped a lot of great nuggets here today. If there's one thing what do you want to mic drop and just leave us with?
Well, I think, we got to realize is we need each other. We need community. We need people around us, right? And like when I talk to parents and I'm in schools or I talk to parents, and most of the parents say something like this, my daughters are doing pretty good. My son's in the basement vaping, watching video games, right? And I think young men today are struggling. And there's lots of reasons. Like I said, there's lots of moving parts, right? But just to hit you with some quick numbers, man, 3 out of 4 of opiate addiction is men, right? 3 out of 4 homelessness is men. 90% of incarceration is men, right? We have to do a better job of coaching, mentoring, training, and encouraging young men. And people my age, we don't do a good job of it. We have a tendency to say, get your shit together. Let's go. Right. And we have no empathy back for people, man. And one of the things I'm personally doing is trying to understand what are the struggles of a young man today, because for the first time in the history of our country, 30-year-olds are not doing as good as 30-year-olds of our parents. It's the first time ever. Right. And so there's real problems going on in our country, man. And there's real problems going on. And I think we need to understand some of that. And then we need to do a better example of rallying around young guys and helping them and encouraging them and not judging them. Get over the stupid stuff, man.
Right.
Get over it. You know what I mean? And, meet people where they're at, love people, encourage people. And, the best way we can do that is you got to show up.
Right.
Got to show up, man. And all of us are in unique environments. I promise every listener right now has somebody in their life they could mentor. They have somebody in their life they could reach out. They got a nephew. They got somebody like, man, I need to reach out to that kid. I need to do my part and try to help that kid. Right. And there's no self-made people.
Right.
I don't believe in that crap for a second. Self-made millionaires. I don't believe in that, man. I know I've had mentors my whole life. I've had people that poured into me. I've had people that believe in me, and that's helped me grow as a person and it's helped me succeed. We need each other. We need community.
We all need help.
We need
and
help,
it's
man.
okay.
Yes.
Honestly, I struggle with that
Yeah.
concept for the
Yeah.
longest time.
We do
You
as
know,
men,
just,
man.
I can do it all.
Yeah.
Oh, blue
Yeah.
collar.
Yep.
I can work my ass off.
Yeah.
I'll get there. I don't need anything. Hell or high water, I'll get there.
Yeah.
You know what? For what?
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't need to have I don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. I need to be smart enough to say, I need help. It's okay. Right.
So here's what I always say, man, because in the Teamsters, we have lots of crafts and divisions that we represent. Right. And I came out of the freight division. So, I was an expert in the freight contract. I worked it for a long time and, policed it, negotiated, been in negotiations, but I wasn't an expert in the car haul division. I wasn't an expert in the brewery and soft drink division. I wasn't an expert in the construction division, and I don't have to become one. I just got to get the expert on my side.
Right.
Right. And I think a lot of times we think we got to know it all. You don't have to know it all, man. You got to, you know what I mean? We need help. It's okay to say I need help. It's okay to say I'm hurt. It's okay to say, hey, man, I'm screwing this up. Can you bail me out, bud?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think we need to humble ourselves a lot more. Me first. Yeah. Me first. You know what I mean? Humble ourselves a lot more, man. Look in the mirror. I think, one of the things you had on there, and we talked a little bit about through your team's career, what's the biggest disappointment or hardest event to get through? And I've been through lots of stuff, man. I've had strikes. I've had companies go out of business. I've had hard negotiations. I've had people lose jobs. And those are always very, very painful, man. Very hard. But I think for me personally is when you disappoint somebody, right? Somebody believes in you and you had to pivot. You had to make a different decision. You had to make a decision that he didn't like. And that disappointment's hard. It's hard. And I think we should own it. I think we should take it seriously. Okay. But at the end of the day, you got to look in the mirror. And when you look in the mirror, are you satisfied? Can you look in the mirror and say, I did the very best job I could with the facts I had. I did the very best job I could with the facts that I had in front of me at that time. And if you can look in the mirror, that should be your biggest gauge. Not everybody around you. Man, hold yourself accountable. Look in the mirror. And I think for me, however it shakes out for me, I'm looking in the mirror, bud.
Right.
I'm looking in the mirror.
What do you see?
I want to see a dude that could change, right? That could adapt, that could overcome, that believed in people, that never gave up on people, right? I don't care how many times you relapsed. You always get a second chance, man. You always get a second chance. And I think that's the dude I want to see.
Compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. 100%, man.
Well, I like what I see, brother.
Love it, man. Thank you, friend.
Thank you.
Yep. It's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You are on your way to growth, transformation, and joy. If you find this episode helpful, please like and share with your friends, and by all means, please leave us a review. You can also view the show notes and subscribe to the Bullet newsletter at toddbirch.com. Remember, real change takes time. Start small and watch that growth take shape.